Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome back to the FIDE Candidates in 2024 that's going on now in Toronto in Canada. So we're now in the last two rounds of this epic chess tournament, and before this last two rounds, the leaders of this top event were the grandmasters Gukesh, Jan Nepomniachtchi and Hikaru Nakamura. All of them had 7.5 points out of the first 12 rounds. But today we had already the clash of the leaders. Today Hikaru and Jan Nepomniachtchi played a draw, which gave Gukesh a huge opportunity to be the sole leader before the last round. But look at this, also crazy things are in the last round. Gukesh has then to play with the black pieces against Hikaru Nakamura, and we should not also forget about a player that maybe we expected more. Fabiano Caruana has also great chances, because before the round 13, Fabiano Caruana was only half of the point behind the leaders, and as I watched now his game against Pragnananda, I think Caruana could have a winning position. But also tomorrow we'll have a great game. We have Caruana against Jan Nepomniachtchi. So in the last two rounds we have really this mixed up games between the leaders, so everything is still open. But as I said, Gukesh now with the win against Alireza Firouzja, potential win, has now great chances in the tournament, can be the sole leader after 13 rounds. So let's see now what happened. We have here Gukesh versus Alireza. The game finished a couple of minutes ago. Really a spectacular game. So with the white pieces, Gukesh opened with the move e4. We have e5 by Alireza, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to b5. The Ruy Lopez, the Spanish game, is on the board. Knight to f6, Berlin defense, d3. We have now bishop to c5 and now kingside castling, also a very solid sideline. Now when white has not played bishop takes c6 and black has a great control of the d4 square, the main line is here now finally to play knight takes d4. Usually in top GM level, instead of this move castling, very often bishop takes c6 is played, this exchange variation going into this messed up pawn structure for black. But of course white is continuing then the game with a beautiful bishop pair. But okay, kingside castling, as I said, gives here the opportunity for Alireza to occupy the d4 square. We have knight takes d4, bishop to d4, knight to d2. We have now the move c6, and now after bishop to c4, now a very solid move here by Alireza Firouzja. He plays now the move d6. Many of us would play the move d5, but there is a certain rule in chess that says that you should not open the center when your king is still in the center. I'm not saying d5 would be a lost game immediately or something for black, but it seems so tempting. Look at this, what would have happened if e takes d5, e takes d5, bishop to b5, you cover, we take, we play queen to f3, hit this pawn, maybe you protect it, rook to e1, c3, d4, e5 is weak. So many positional problems here Alireza would have had. So that's why after move bishop to c4, really the correct way is here to proceed with d6 like Alireza did. So we have now c3 here, kicking with the bishop, bishop drops back, and now bishop to b3. a5 by Alireza, putting more pressure against this bishop. Also, of course, forces the queen to stay a little bit longer here on the starting square d1, because if the queen moves somewhere, then of course a4 could be a great expansion for black here on the queen side. We have knight to c4, hitting the bishop, bishop to a7, and now knight to e3 here by Gukesh. We have sort of a theoretical novelty from this point on. We have reached a completely new position in chess history. King to h1 has been played, and also a4 in the game between Carlsen against Levin Aronian. Surprisingly, Levin won the game with the black pieces. But okay, here knight to e3, also pretty solid. So every of this line, I think, is perfectly equal. Nothing is dramatically going on. No one made inaccuracies, mistakes, or blunders. So a solid position now for both sides. We have now kingside castling, and now here after queen to f3, Alireza spices up the game, finds, I think, the optimal solution of this position, finds simply the best move, which gives, I think, even black here the slightly edge. Black should be slightly better after this brilliant move by Alireza d5. And great breakthrough idea. Although the square is taken now 3 times, 4 times by the knight, by the bishop, by the queen, and also by the pawn, Alireza plays that because actually you cannot play here e takes d5. This would be very risky because there is this problem, a4. As I said in the beginning, the queen has to stay a little bit longer and protect this potential a4 move. For instance, if you try bishop to a4, then bishop takes e3, wins the piece here for black. If you try here bishop to c4, maybe to escape, to keep somehow your bishop connected to the pawn on d5, then bishop takes e3, we have bishop to e3, and now b5 even traps the bishop. So you see with the move d5 already very, very nice ideas here by Alireza. Firouzja. Really dirty traps are possible in the early stage of the game. So that's why Gukesh plays the correct move. But as I said, because of this move d5, I would even dare to say that black is slightly better. Black has now better spaces. This bishop is blocked out by the knight. This bishop has a great activity. This bishop is also very powerful. Black has the pawn central control, has the spaces in the center of the board. Nothing spectacular, but I would, as I said, say here, black is really slightly better. So here, Alireza plays also good move. Correct move, g6, controlling the f5 square. Alireza is not allowing the knight to come on an active square. We have rook to e1, bishop to e6, e takes d5, c takes d5, and now h3. Simply, of course, creating in some lines some breathing spaces for the king, and also, if necessary, maybe to reroute the knight on g4, maybe trying knight to h6. So, as I said, very equalish still game here for both sides. We have rook to e8 by Alireza. We have bishop to a4. Hitting the rook, but now again a beautiful move by Alireza, e4, beautiful counterplay in the center of the board. D takes e4, d takes e4, the queen is hanging, so that's why queen to e2, and now rook to e7. Good also move again by Alireza, not maybe play something like bishop to d7, keeping the rook behind the pawn, because Alireza has built now the space advantage here on the fourth rank, has now a very advanced pawn, so that's why it was very important now to keep the rook on this file, to somehow attack further the position, maybe even if possible somehow push the pawn through. So very good move here, I would say, by Alireza Firouzja. And he's keeping the pieces on the board. He doesn't want to trade off pieces because maybe he's sensing that he should be slightly better here. So that's why here knight to f1 by Gukesh. Gukesh doesn't want to tolerate maybe this bishop on a7, wants to play bishop to e3 and then play certain blockade, knight to e3, and keep the position compact around the square. We have queen to c7, bishop to b3, a4. Again, you cannot take bishop to a4 because now again a brilliant idea here by Alireza, a4, really again a dirty trap here by Alireza. If you play bishop to a4, then the problem is now we get rid of the knight on f1. Why is this so important? You try maybe queen to c2, we still attack the queen, you play queen to d2, we hit the knight, and now we play bishop to b8. Very unpleasant position. If you try g3, e3 is going to happen. This diagonal could be losing game here for white already. So that's why after move a4, finally Gukesh played bishop to e6. We have rook to e6 and now bishop to e3. Still, you see, although the position is about equal, but I think it's much easier for black a little bit to play the game because of the spaces that we have built here, especially the pawn on e4 is a little bit I don't know, unpleasant to handle again here for white. So that's why Gukesh again simplifies the game. Bishop to e3, a3. We have now the move c4, and now maybe a certain critical moment of the game, because here Alireza had maybe the opportunity to play a takes b2. Why was it maybe so important to play this one? Because if you don't play that in one move, in one moment, white will of course play the move b3 and will have a healthy pawn structure on the queen side, and would then have in a potential endgame a 2 versus 1 pawn majority on the queen side, which is very important to notice here, because I think the game is not so far from a fully endgame stage. So if we reach the fully endgame stage, then of course these 2 pawns could be rolling. Maybe from a positional point of view, maybe it was slightly better to take a takes b2, queen to b2, maybe even to take out this one. Probably Alireza was annoyed by the potential for this position where still white continues with the passer on the a file, but with queen to d5, I think the game could be simplified enough, and this should be completely drawish position, I think, for both sides. But okay, after move c4, knight to h5. Alireza is of course dynamic player. He doesn't want to go for draws. He sometimes of course loses some games, but what I like about Alireza, he always goes for a win. He is always trying to do his best. He doesn't want to play of course, this draw is sidelined. So after move knight to h5, g3 by Gukesh, controlling the f4 square, and now bishop to c5. We have b3. See now, Gukesh keeps now this healthy pawn structure on the queen side. Nothing spectacular. Not like black is losing the game because of the structure, but as I said, it's very, very unpleasant maybe then later to handle this potential 2 versus 1 situation on the queen side. Okay, here Alireza continues with his plan. f5, good move. We have bishop takes c5, queen to c5, rook from a to d1, and now rook to f8, preparing simply the move f4. You could have played maybe here f4 immediately, but probably Alireza was annoyed by this potential queen to g4 move, then rook to f6. You could lose maybe this one. So as I said, good follow-up here by Alireza. Rook to f8, simply again preparing in a better way even this move. f4, we have a rook to d5 attacking the queen. Queen drops back, and now f4. Good move by Gukesh. He's at least preventing this f4 idea for a while, because if you play here, of course, e takes f3 en passant, then the rook is hanging on e6. So that's why here knight to f6 by Alireza, and now rook to d2. Simply retreating with the rook, keeping now certain defensive structure here, trying maybe even to block somehow, maybe double up the rooks, maybe somehow get it on the 7th rank. But I would have again say the position is equal. Nothing is really so spectacular here. Basically, in this type of position, I think the player that makes the first mistake will eventually lose the game, because there are still, of course, tactical problems in the position. You could maybe get some forks. The kings are a little bit also exposed, we could say. So again, many positional problems, but the engine also says here pretty equal position. But now, again, when you are the attacker, you don't want to be again on the defensive side. Alireza goes now with a very aggressive move g5. He plays a tiny little inaccuracy, which gives here again white some breathing spaces. A better choice was maybe to play the move e3, because after knight to e3 you put more pressure here on the e file. White has to defend, and now you play h5, and this would be a very strange Zugzwang position where white would be simply paralyzed. Okay, white has an extra pawn, but this is, I think, not a good continuation here also for white. So after move something like rook to d3, if you don't take, then we still support our pawn. Maybe after a couple of trades of pieces, queen to d8, you have to retreat, and then you have access to the e4 square. So white cannot compete anymore against this knight. You cannot play knight to d2 because the queen has a queen and knight are covering this square. So this was maybe a good chance for Alireza to push the right pawn. He played the move g5, allowed here knight to e3 by Gukesh. Good move also by Gukesh, I would say, because f takes g5 would be very risky because of this line. Knight to d7. That was, I think, Alireza's plan, but Gukesh found the best idea. For instance, knight to d7, you have to play knight to h2 to control the f3 square. The knight is coming on e5 and then on f3. But then after knight to e5, you're trying queen to e3, maybe here rook to d5, knight to d3, and black is, I think, pretty solid here because of, again, of this annoying knight on d3. It's very hard to compete again against this knight. So that's why good move by Gukesh, knight to e3. Because of the move g5, Gukesh sensed, of course, the problems of the f5 pawn. We have now g takes f4, g takes f4 by Gukesh. Still the pawn is hanging on f5. Knight to f5 immediately here is not so good because of queen to c5 check. You have to play something like knight to d4. Of course, knight to e3 is not working. This square is taken by the pawn, so you have to play knight to d4. But then rook to d6, you keep the pressure. b4, queen to g5. Look at this. You're getting simply stretched all over the board. You have weaknesses on the g file. The knight is pinned. So again, too many tactical problems here for white. So again, after g takes f4, g takes f4. So really calm game here by Gukesh. You see many traps Alireza Firouzja has set up for Gukesh, and Gukesh never fall for it. Very great. I would say solid game here by Gukesh. So we have now queen to f7. Again, I would say the position is about equal. Maybe black has a slightly better structure again when it comes to potential fully endgame stage, because now black has the so-called supported pass pawn. because of this supported pass pawn structure, white can never really go with the king somewhere actively. If, for instance, the king in a fully endgame stage comes to g5, then of course this pawn is rolling. So, but as I said, white is also 2 versus 1, so I would say again a pretty equal position. So we have king to h2, getting out of the potential g-file mess. So we have now knight to h5. Alireza goes for the f4 pawn, queen to f2, rook to g6, and now rook to d5. So now suddenly you see Gukesh is also sensing the possibility of the weakness of the pawn on f5. We have knight to g7, Alireza protects it, rook to d1, rook to h6, rook to g1, now rook to g6. You could play, of course, queen to h5, threatening something, but queen to f1 solves again all of the positional problems here for white. After rook to g1, we have rook to g6, and now after rook from d to g1 and rook to h6, we have now reached the time control. Now again, the players had additional time. We're now in move 40. So here Gukesh, of course, continues with rook to g1 again, and again rook to g6, but now queen to h4. Now Gukesh is saying, I have to win this game. Hikaru and Jan Nepomniachtchi already played a draw. I'm sure that Gukesh was aware about the result in the game between Hikaru and Jan Nepomniachtchi. So maybe with this move, queen to h4, he announced maybe the possibility to go for the attack, to spice up the game somehow, to do something, to somehow maybe stretch a win out of this really drawish position. After queen to h4, we have rook takes g1, king takes g1, and now Alireza starts to make really bad moves. First bad move is king to h8. Seems normal, you're getting out of the g file, you're getting out of the potential tactics, but it was very important now finally for Alireza to include his knight back into the game. In the line, maybe knight to f5, you play something like queen to g6, queen to g4, takes, and now we take also this one, knight to f4, and I would say here again, completely drawish position now for both sides. But after king to h8, here, of course, Gukesh gets also out with king to f2, but his king is really solid here, and Alireza has still always to worry about this f5 pawn. We have now rook to g8, we have now queen to g5. Now maybe Gukesh makes his first inaccuracy. A better choice was simply to play aggressively with queen to h6. If, for instance, rook to f8 happens, then you go with rook to d6. Look at this, knight to d5. Again, I'm not saying black is lost or something, but with the move queen to h6, I think white would place the pieces on the most active squares, and black's position is really cramped. You cannot really move your pieces somewhere. Still, the f5 weakness is there. So, as I said, nothing dramatically is going on, but this was Gukesh's chance to really take the lead in this game with queen to h6. But he played queen to g5, and now Alireza had to play again, I think, this idea. Knight to e6, maybe you lose this pawn on f5, but now Alireza had this counterplay with queen to g7. You have to play queen to e5 to somehow trade off the queens. After rook to e5, you lose also this pawn. This pawn is lost, but now Alireza could have taken also the pawn on h3. Or maybe here after f takes e5, instead of rook to e5, you go with this rook into the game. Then the rook is coming on the third rank, and again, this pawn will be lost. So huge opportunity here again for Alireza to make this move knight to e6. The move that we have seen previously is also working in order to get a fully drawish position. But he played queen to g6. And this was now, I would say, the crucial blunder of this particular game. Queen to g6 allows here Gukesh to take. Queen takes g6. It seems so that Alireza solves now all of the positional problems around the square f5 that he had. But actually, there is a new problem. There is now the problem of the g6 pawn, but also of the b7 pawn. What should you do? If you try here something like king to h7, then rook to b6 is coming. If you defend, then knight to d5, again the activity. Then we get the knight to e7, and this pawn could be lost. So many again positional and tactical problems here for black. In the game after rook to d6, Alireza noticed the problems. He simply went with the rook behind the pawn. He's trying to do something here, maybe with this e pawn. But Gukesh says, okay, thank you, I will take it. Why not? Why shouldn't I take it? Now still you have the problem of the f5 pawn, but now there is also this passer and this 2 versus 1 situation on the queen side, and the knight is really powerful piece here. creates a blockade, it's not allowing the pawn to be advanced, and still attacks the f5 weakness. So suddenly the position here for Alireza, I think, collapsed here. I think white is much better. Here, knight to e6. Finally, this move by Alireza, but now it's not working because of knight to d5. Gukesh has everything protected. Very great move here. Now, this pawn is protected, and now the knight is still a little bit misplaced. There are still some problems of this pawn, so I will not say completely winning endgame here for white, but very unpleasant now position again here for black. In the game, what should you do now? Here, one of the lines can be e3. This could be a dirty trick because after king to e3, knight to f8 to happen, but you don't have to react. You can just go behind the pawn, and nothing is going to happen. So here, after knight to d5, Alireza went with knight to d4. A move that's trying to do something here, maybe on this side of the board, but Gukesh plays again the correct move, rook to b6. Very important move to again stretch the position, to really somehow create more weaknesses in black's position. Alireza continued with knight to c2, and again Gukesh takes, says okay, thank you, now I have 2 extra pawns. These are connected, so from this point on, I think this is now completely winning endgame here for white. After rook takes b7, we have now rook to e6 by Alireza. Gukesh is of course trying now to trade off rooks because he has now completely winning endgame. Rook to h6, c5. Gukesh simply pushed the pawn further. We have now rook to g6, king to f2. Now b4, of course. The main goal is of course somehow to get the pawn move b5, and then maybe here then maybe the move c6 to let this pawn roll, of course, on this side of the board. Rook to h3. Okay, Alireza has his pawn, but now Gukesh attacks the rook. We have rook to h6. Alireza cannot, of course, get the rook on the second rank. If that happens, then maybe black can create this passer. So again, king to g2. Good move here by Gukesh. Rook to h6. Rook to b7. Rook to g8. b5. Now finally this move happened, and this is really game over here for black. King to f8. We have now b6. Rook to g6. Not a problem. Again, rook to c7. King to rook to h2, and after here king to g3. In this particular position, Alireza Firouzja resign, because there's nothing that can be done. Even if you take here, we simply push the pawn. You may be trying this one. We can cover the b file. You don't have access to the c6 square. Game over here for black. So Gukesh is now in the lead of the FIDE Candidates 2024. There is a very historical aspect about this win. If, for instance, Gukesh wins the candidates, and for instance, if Gukesh wins the World Chess Championship, then Gukesh will be the youngest world champion in chess history, which would be such an immortal fact in chess. This would be very amazing for every chess lover, I would say. But still, nothing is lost. As I said, I think Fabiano Caruana could win his game against Ramesh Pragnanda. So tomorrow we have Fabiano Caruana against Jan Nepomniachtchi, and also Gukesh has to survive against Hikaru Nakamura with the black pieces. So nothing is over, but this is really spectacular. He could be really the one after Magnus Carlsen. I don't know. He has really great theoretical knowledge. He always finds good tactics. You see, he's calm. Alireza Firouzja prepared many dirty ideas, but Gukesh survived all of them. Really amazing performance. Now Gukesh is the sole leader of the FIDE Candidates in 2024. This is really crazy. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Crazy Rui Lopez, Berlin Defense. If you want to see some other games that we have covered so far from this tournament here on my YouTube chess channel, check out our coverage. Here are some links of some games that we have analyzed before, and if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.